With the interior color swap in progress and the engine work finished, we're going to turn our attention to finishing up the body, suspension, and wrapping up this transmission swap. We just finished removing the entire rear suspension, and now we're going to look at the weak points on the E46. These are the rips and tears that happen in the sheet metal on the rear shock mounts and the rear subframe mounts. Luckily our subframe didn't rip out. As for the rear shock mounts, well, they're totally gone. I guess we now know where that clunking noise is coming from. Well, even though we have all our parts from FCP, we still can't do anything until we weld in some replacement metal. So we're calling in a favor with my buddy Devin, and it seems right away he was the right man for the job, because even in such a tight spot, he was able to pull off a solid repair with a nice piece of plate steel. With a new plate in place and everything cooled to the touch, we're going to cover the new steel with some self-etching primer and start lining up the holes we'll need to drill for the new mount. And with the last hole drilled and some more self-etching primer, we're going to start to assemble the new shock mounts. These mounts go together really easily with just a pair of wrenches. Just make note of how the pieces came off in the first place. The repair's welded in, mounts are done, shocks are installed, and we've got the trunk all put back together too. With some new Royal Purple 75-140 fluid in the differential, we're ready to wrap up this rear suspension. With the used control arms in place, thanks to my buddy Butters, we mount the differential and install the last of the suspension, the end links. And everyone remembers our friend Mr. E-Brake, right? You know, the one who was missing when we needed him most? Anyway, we ended up having to replace parts 1, 2, well, pretty much everything you see here. And even when we tried drilling a broken stud out, it didn't go down without a fight. We even managed to break the thread cutter too. Good news though, the operation was a complete success. And while we were at it, we thought we'd add a little color too. As for the front suspension, the control arms, bushings, tie rods, and mounts will really help tighten everything up. So a lot of people have been sending questions about how I take off the lower control arm bushings without going to a shop to get them pressed out. And I just thought I'd show you how. Got a razor blade here, we've got a chisel and a hammer. So what I like to do with the old bushing is just make incisions on either sides of the rubber, both sides here, and then you're then able to twist the old bushing off. So once you get the old bushing off the arm, as you can see I just cut it out on the inside. All you want to do is take the chisel and make one hit on the inside, and what that's going to do is it's going to split that outer race of the outer bushing here, and then just use the chisel and the hammer to work its way out. It actually goes pretty quick. I'll show you. You can see how it started folding in the outside edges of the bushing. And if you want a step-by-step guide to rebuilding your front suspension, click this link. To wrap up the front suspension, we're adding some color to these front calipers too. Now since the suspension's finished, let's tackle this transmission swap. With the automatic long gone, it was time to install the new rear main seal and try to finally keep all this oil inside the motor. The only way we see this much oil outside the motor in the future is if we throw a rod through the block. But I mean, what are the chances of that, right? Oh, right. With the new seal and pilot bearing in place, we're reaching for the new M3 Satch clutch kit. This kit will work with our 325 because the transmission, pressure plate, clutch and flywheel are all M3 spec. And a tip for you guys, make sure you try to find yourself a tool with a hole in it, and you can use a single transmission bolt to wedge the flywheel in place. This way, you can properly torque everything down and not worry about anything moving. But before the transmission goes on, we're going to take advantage of this extra space to replace the fuel filter. No matter what, this job is a pain. But without the transmission in the way, you've got way more room. And you know what? Looking at this, I swear this is the original fuel filter. I mean, I doubt with our car's history that the owners only used genuine BMW parts, so my guess is this was last installed when the Sega Genesis was still on everybody's Christmas list. And we just got a laugh when installing this Bosch filter. Apparently it's not wise to replace one of these while you're wearing a business suit. So let's get the transmission ready to go in. First things first, we're going to put new transmission mounts on the transmission crossmember. And for you guys doing this swap, here's the reason you can't reuse the automatic crossmember. So one thing to check out before you put the transmission back in the car and possibly cause yourself a lot of hassle is to check the detent. So what that is a number of pins on the side here that hold and give spring tension to the lever to shift back from fifth to neutral or first to neutral. So just take a screwdriver, put it in the shifter, go to the side, you'll see how easily and smoothly it moves back, so that's going from first to neutral. And then try the other direction here. And you can feel on this one it's actually pretty notchy. It's almost sticking, so that tells me that the detents need to be replaced. So especially if you plan on using like a short shifter or whatnot, you won't be able to have enough leverage to get it over to fifth gear. And with some help from my buddy Beans, we're able to pop off the cover and sand our detent, thus freeing up our sticking fifth gear. So how do we put everything back together without buying the detent kit? I saw a post about an E46 transmission rebuild where the guy used a washer to hold in the spring. Now, I don't have the right size washer, but what I do have is an extra Japanese yen in my wallet. It's equivalent to our penny. And would you believe me if I said, it fits perfectly. Seriously, with the new C-clip, we've just fixed our sticky shifter for exactly 0.008 cents. We just added some sealant to the detent, and now Beans and I are adding the shifter linkage, a shorter Z3 shift rod, and the transmission crossmember. And after topping off the transmission with some Redline manual transmission fluid, the transmission's ready to go in. But first, we need to assemble the slave cylinder and run the hard and soft clutch lines. Just like we did with the fuel filter, waiting to put the transmission in is going to give us a lot more room to work with. Climbing under the steering wheel, here you can see the locations for the clutch stop, the hard line to the transmission, and the soft line that goes up to the brake fluid reservoir. Next up, Beans and I are assembling the pedals with a new clutch master cylinder from the kit. A word to the wise, try not to pinch your fingers on that spring. You'll see what I mean. With somebody else holding the camera, now I'm going to install the clutch pedal. First up, connect the blue rubber hose that we just installed. Then, attach the hard line to the back of the clutch master and clip it into place. Now you can push up any excess blue hose back into the engine bay. And after that, just align the 4 stubs in the brake master cylinder and the one on top and tighten them down. Now you can just clip in the brake pedal and we're done. Now, I'm not saying it's the most comfortable way to work on a car, but all in all, it's not really a hard swap. And with all this mechanical work going on, I bet you thought I forgot about painting this thing, right? Well, I didn't. And after looking around the garage, I found an old can of Rustoleum Old Ford Blue. We're going to give it a shot and see how it looks. First up is a light coat of self-etching primer, and then a coat of this Old Ford Blue. Now I've got to say, it looks pretty good, especially in considering this came out of an old spray can. It kind of reminds me of like a non-metallic Astoral Blue. And after a $60 stop at the local hardware store, I think we've got a winner. While they didn't have the Old Ford Blue in stock, I think this new color is a great choice. It's almost like a Laguna Seca blue, but a little bit darker. And again, I'm no paint man, but the finish of this enamel paint is amazing, and it's wicked easy to apply. I didn't know we were building a show car, did you? And what color is this, you ask? It's called Safety Blue. And now with the paint looking so good, we had to spruce up the engine bay too. So I'm grabbing a can of yellow and getting to work. So with the valve cover painted, we're taking one last look into this motor before buttoning it up and crossing our fingers. And to finally stop the last of our oil leaks, we're going to install a new valve cover gasket set. And I gotta say, this blue and yellow color combo is looking pretty good. We're getting really close to trying to fire this thing up. But first, let's wrap up this clutch install by attaching the blue soft line to the brake reservoir. Just clip the nipple and trim the hose to size and connect. Now we can attach the transmission and cross member, and with that done, we can finally admire our new shifter. And to make all this effort worthwhile, my friend Matt and I will need to bleed the clutch. And if you've never done it before, it's exactly like bleeding the brakes. I'll be the one pumping the clutch by hand, and Matt will then crack open the bleeder valve, releasing any air trapped inside. We're going to repeat this 100 times or so until the clutch returns all by itself. Just kidding. After all that hard work, we found the brake reservoir hoses are dry rotted and leaking everywhere. So that means we'll have to drain all the fluid, replace the hoses, and bleed the whole system again, including the brakes. On the upside, it's the same blue hose we used for the clutch install, and we got a bit of extra. Check back on Friday for the final build episode, where we grind, rip, paint, and weld our way to the finish line, and finally get a chance to turn this key. What do you think? Will we hear vroom, or will we hear boom? Anyway, thanks for the support, likes, subscriptions, comments below. Thanks for watching.
Dude, that sounds so weird.
That sounds awesome.